So life being a journey, and if you want to collect up with your creator or different things like that, you would walk in steps, yes? And if I step this way, and it's like a pyramid, yes? And every single time you step forward, it feels like you've reached the top of the pyramid. You're at the peak. Oh, this is wonderful. It has a honeymoon period to it. But it's not like a honeymoon period in that aspect. It's more like an insult in a good way on all of your senses. You seem to be quite aligned with different stuff. So if you take a religious standpoint and then you start to walk towards a religious standpoint and you step, the next step up always feels like the peak of the pyramid. But you learn to find very quickly on that it's not really a peak. There's multiple steps, but because you're not looking at the next step, you're at the moment here. It's almost like, are you ready? Yes, we're ready. Dush, meet you halfway, meet you halfway. But it's not like a pyramid in that aspect, because if I step this way, that's just as good. If I step this way, it's just as good. If I step backwards, the step seems to appear underneath your feet. And whichever way you step, there's always a platform for you to step up onto. So we're talking about super advanced beings, yes? And the only way I can describe that, I think I just did on this one. I think I did a better job, but again, we'll go down it again. So beings that have a lot of time on their hands and learn to survive their planetary destruction, learn to survive their solar system destruction. And as time goes on, and given enough of it, they then begin to make soul capture, where you collect a soul, the very essence that makes you you. And to be able to transition from human form, your essence collected and transferred or transformed? No, it doesn't transform. Kinda. It becomes from your human vessel into a machine vessel. And you're fully aware of the whole transition period. Transcending? Good. You're fully aware of it. It's almost like nothing. You remember the transition from there to there. Now, what data is in your database? You've just grabbed your essence of this journey and it goes into the database. If you've been on multiple other planets and had a being experience in that, then it goes to collect up your database, yes? So you think of it like a computer, but not a computer, because computer would be a lame way to think about it. But think of eternal memory, eternal storage. And each time you have a chapter, you just add to the... Now, beings that were clever enough to capture your essence would then begin to do two things. It divides, always goes off in twos. They would not only look at, now we're in the machine, let's just stay in the machine. That wouldn't be enough. It would be, one, can I find someone here from the 1900s, whilst being in the time ratio of now? Can I find somebody else's essence within the essence that existed in the 1900s? That's one way, given enough time, technology will go. Another way technology will go is, can I take my very essence and put it into a vessel, being another being? Can I make another being? Like these beings here, or those beings over there, or the very being that I once was. So it goes off in two ways, this one and this one, big questions. And therefore those questions are very powerful. Why? Because they lead you on a journey of discovery, possibility. What's possible, what's not possible. Everything is possible given enough time. Time is a big factor in all of this. You need lots of time. Now let's say, not only can they collect a vessel from, let's say, the 1900s, the 1800s, the year 36, take you back into your AD, BC.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that everybody overlooks when living, and that's two things. One, the universal creator created you now to be exactly as you are now, in this life, existing as you are. And then when you die, you ask yourself the question, if the universe could make you now this way, can it make you now this way anywhere, anytime it wants?
Yeah.
Possibility, yeah? Because it's possible that you're here now. So it's already done it. You are already the proof that the universe is quite capable of doing that. And this capability says that that capability is different. And the next capability from another capability also says that it's different.
Yeah.
And rightly so, you are. So all of these differences, and perhaps we don't know it from an animal's perspective, but the animal probably thinks, because we think, that we're different from the animal. And the animal thinks, yeah, I'm different from you. If the universe is created and everything that you see in existence now, it, if worthy, can create you anytime it wants. What's more, I ask another question. Could it downgrade you? Could the universe make you as you are now, but remove certain things from you? Give you the ability to not have any arms, no legs. Yes. Could it make it so that you didn't need to breathe? Could it make it so that you didn't need to eat? Yes. Nothing's beyond impossible, right? So the universe can do that. If the universe can do that, and has done that, can it make a being, a collective of beings, that could also do this, given enough time, and given that fundamental fact, it could recreate the very essence of what already has been without cloning? This wouldn't be cloning. And then would these beings have a special ability or a drive or a need to then make themselves so they don't need to breathe, so that they don't need to do this, they don't need to eat, they don't need to do, right? Because that would then make more of a, I don't know. Let's look at humans, for example. Before they were to ever do this to themselves, wouldn't they test this on animals? To see whether they can remove certain DNA profiles, remove certain bits out of the DNA, to create something that was, can I get a little bit thrifty with this? The answer is yes. Absolutely, yes, they would do that. Of course they would. If not already. And you would then have to ask then, where is the intelligence on that? And you also pose another question to any ET out there. Has it already been done? And then if you happened across some other life forms, would you do it to them? Come down, remove certain bits and move bits of this, and what happens if I remove this? Okay, can I try and make this better by adding this to this? Well, we'll see later on in time how that pans out. We'll see how this one pans out. We'll see how this genetic crossover works out. We'll see how this one works out. What happens if we take a bit of ours, a bit of what's already here, and mixed it in with a bit with what's over there, added it in, and then we'll just watch for a bit. We'll just watch this roll out and see whether that works to benefit. Because, we want to try it with, but you need we really could do. But my favourite in all of this one, this is my favourite. This is the one I love so much. Not only do you learn, let's say if you could make an avatar, like Avatar, to make a human being, and then transfer your essence, all the bits that you want to put into it, into that vessel, and then have it grow with humanity. And then let's say have another one that could grow as a cat, have another one that grows as some other beings, whatever they may label themselves as being. The list is endless, but to you, it would only sound like gibberish. I could make anything up. Surly Lumbazir. There's another type of beings. But to you, it just sounds like rubbish. I could write you what they write, but to you, it will look like scribble. And all scribble is, really, is your handwriting. You've learnt to read scribble. That's it. Computer text, it's scribble. And you've made sense out of the scribbles. That's it. That's all it is. So if I show them your scribble, it will just be scribble. The best way to read scribble is to have the ones that created the scribble, to take your essence, grow in a vessel with them. They will teach you their scribble. They will also teach you their click, clack, click, be talking. If I were to speak like some of the others, you'd be like, you're talking nonsense. Yes. Because again, not only is it scribble you've made sense of, it's also sounds you've made sense of. You've made sounds sound like certain things that mean certain... You've applied a lot of meaning to these sounds. And those meanings, well, best way to understand it is to join it. Have it teach you their own scribble. Nothing is safe, right? Could you imagine that? You could take a spy, for example, yes? And teach them everything that they needed to know, and then drop them into another nation as a baby. And as they grew up, they had a mission, and their mission was to go and join the other spy group and grow in with that spy group to learn all that secrets. And the ones that would teach them their secrets would be those very spy groups in the... Right? And then they could give this... Then their essence is... And then they could... Okay, so that means this, right? Okay, those language means, okay, right? So it's really no different, right? And the more advanced you are, well, the more powerful you are, the more clever you are, the more you're going to run away with this, yes? And there's another thing on this one as well. This is my favourite one of all of them, and I'm really holding on to it because I'd like to savour the moment. But here it comes. So then you would begin to understand that there would be different crossing over effects, yes?
Yeah.
So the universe might be that you might, let's say, if you're a badass, you could meet this thing called a devil. If you're a good ass, you could meet the thing called God. Your interpretation of it. But what happens if you walk through balanced? Will the universe's true force then begin to show itself to you? Because it needs to transform your energy. What if these beings have figured out a way to tap into that, but they need a lot of different balances, imbalances, and each time they put it into their machine, it transforms this energy to show something of the individual. Let me give you another way to explain it. It's almost like getting a translator. You know, do you know the stars are alive? How would you know if the stars were alive? Well, first, you'd have to tap into what it's saying. You need to know that it's saying something first. How do you not know that this star isn't telling something to that star over there? And that star isn't telling something to this star over here? Much like nature. You never know, nature could be having a long-distance communication call with somebody else. Another nature form somewhere else, elsewhere. You just wouldn't know it, because you'd need to be able to tap in to know how it's communicating. And the only way you'd really do that is to become a plant. But retain some of the essence of your intelligence, and therefore you would then need to be selective. Well, if you trusted your collective, they would then, or we would discuss before doing anything, okay, I'm going to give you a bit of this because you'll need to know this, I'm going to give you a bit of that because you're going to need to understand this, and we're going to give you a bit of that, but that's going to be about it. I'm going to put you into a seed, right? That's how you're going to start your journey and grow. And then you're going to need some awareness filters put in there. So you're going to be a bit different, but you're also going to be exactly the same. And then that plant, as you being the plant, will teach you how the plant, or if the plant is communicating. Again, it's a big puzzle, right? To be able to know what's being communicated. Now, take a star, it's a bit more complex than that. But if you knew how the plant spoke or was communicating, you might do this via visual to start with, looking at chemical signatures and this, that, and the other, because that's the only way you can really observe it from the outside. It's very difficult to observe it from the outside. Psychologists would probably love this, to be able to become the person for a bit. In order to truly fix someone's psyche, you have to become that person.
Mm-hmm.
That's an awful lot of becoming, with all of their challenges, with all of their background, with all of the events they went through. And even then, you might still be miles off. But still, it would be a lot more easier to be that person for a few days, let's say, to be inside their mind, literally, be their very essence, see with their eyes, hear with theirs, see their memories, the thought processes, everything else like that. That's the only way your psychologist is ever going to really truly know. Yeah? You're going to need to be that person. But looking at it from the outside and just sort of that is best guess. So, meh. But to be the plant, you would have a lot more insight, a lot more understanding. And then you'd be able to begin to know that a lot more. And then with this, you've collected some data, and as you pass back over, let's say, the plant is destroyed, transformed, whatever, and the essence is collected again.
Mm-hmm.
Man, your seeds you leave. Interesting, really. Shades of grey. And this info that's been collected, well, it might not be worth anything to you, and then the rest of it all, oh yes, I remember this stuff now. Okay, I remember that, right? Okay, too much for one flesh to remember, perhaps. Not saying that it's impossible that if your truest form, depending on what being you were, let's not say that the third thing that would be walking towards is figuring out how to make their vessels more capable in the brain or the membrane, spinal cord, and the rest of it, to be able to hold up all of this info, to store that info, and be as a normal blank subject with limited, and then the computer teaches you as the flesh all of that information. Again, that would be something else that would, given enough time, I'm sure it will be achieved. And then a lot of these layers begin to start to merge up. That then if you were a vessel of your own form, that then understood so many different life forms, that would be an interesting thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Would that be a step closer to understanding what a god would know?
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah.
So that there is two things, I think, in a way. There's the artificial God, which is this way. There is the artificial way of staying alive without the necessities. And then there could possibly be a natural way where the divine itself says, okay, you've lived well, this is it, this is where you went on to, perhaps in that fuzziness. And, I'm going to create you, I need your vessel here, here, and here. Or did the divine come through you to be the vessel inside this vessel, so that it through you could go on to understand near enough in intimate details even more about this biome, if you want to call it that. And perhaps there is an awful lot more than just this. So there would be many different ways to be then, wouldn't there? Many different versions to be. And do you think it's possible with enough time to be as many different versions of that species as possible, to really understand the species as a collective? Not really sure about that. So one time you might be really intelligent and go off in that direction. One time you might be really heavy into religion. One time you might be really heavy into this. There's an awful lot of spirals. Sometimes you might just try and rough it out and go your own direction. That's a lot of collecting, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of info here, a lot of info there. So there is the natural way of learning everything, if you think about it. There is an obvious way to do it. There's a covert way to do it. So you never know, you could be it. That person over there could be it. The person over there could be it. They're just a bit more hidden. You're a bit more open and honest about it. A little bit more obvious, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps because that's how it was meant to be. But while you're learning something else is within you learning too. Don't you think?
Yeah.
The universal. So there is a natural and there is also an artificial. But there is also an artificial within the natural. And how do you not know that the artificial was not created by the natural in order to really push the envelope? And again, that would be something that would be explored as well. So you have a fourth direction. So again, just because one seems, the others have ability to be not seen. And then how would you ever know? You wouldn't. It's impossible. Because after all, what you look for might not be what you're looking for. What is seen might just be visible. And what is not seen may always blend into the background. And you will never truly know whether it's that family, your family, your family. You would never truly know. And then, what happens if they become a part of your family? Would you test in the same way? Would you experiment? Would you play with? Probably not. So, again, you never know. So yeah, that's the way I look at it. So pyramids, and each time you walk on it, walk up, walk up, walk up, walk up, walk up, you are learning an awful lot. And whether this is a story of what has been, or is this a story of what could be? And I think that lies in the hands of you and your decisions, and all the moves you make from then on out. And you never know, certain opportunities could be being given only while these opportunities are around. And I mean, if you were a human format in this, understanding this, and you expanded enough to be this, think of that. Think of what you would do in a situation such as that. It would be very interesting, wouldn't it? Anyway, again, so whether this is or isn't, whether it could be or has been, that's a very different semantic altogether, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It makes you think about the Stephen King or the Roanoke Island, where all of the villagers jumped off the cliff, 2 by 2, yes?
Yeah.
Makes you think about that a little bit more, doesn't it? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? That's a very interesting... And then I wonder sometimes whether it goes down this sort of... It's that sort of, thought out. Yeah. So again, stars, a little bit more complicated. Planets, a little bit more complicated. But given enough time, and perhaps when you start to reach that dome, and then there's boredom maybe, not, you would find that interesting. Or at least something. One of you would find that interesting to go and see if it's possible. And you'll never stop, because people will always try and see, is it a god? Is it this? Is it this? Is it that? Is it this? Is it spiritual? Is it this? Because the questions are always asking, yes? And always trying to find these out. Again. Interesting. Very interesting. But anyway, I'm going to leave this one here because I think I had fun with that. I really did. Very nice.